And we're going to call on our collective ancestors to give us strength.
That's right.
We're going to ask on all sacred things, on the grandfather, on the grandmother. We're going to invite those relatives whose loves were stolen to be here with us, to give us the energy that we need to continue to fight.
Our healing matters. The healing of our communities needs to be at center of any movement, of any lucha, any fight for justice.
They try to strip us of our traditions, of our culture, of our identity. So we bring those ancestral instruments together.
It's really about dismantling the systems of oppression and implementing systems that are holistic, that are about empowerment, about self-determination, more traditional, that are really restoring a lot of what was stolen from us during colonialism.
For me, it's like spiritual activism. Sometimes it's a family asking for support. Sometimes it's going in front of City Hall and having a protest. Sometimes it's going to Adelanto Immigration Center and just having an altar, prayers, and drumming.
And we're on speaker view.
Thank you all so much for sharing your responses to that question. What role does healing have in movement work? Many of you are already doing and centering healing and healing justice in your work. And so I'm super excited to share this manual with all of you on this call. It's a tool that we want it to be accessible. We want it to be usable. So if you have any feedback, I personally definitely want to hear it. I'm the Healing Justice Organizer at Justice Teams Network. JTN is a California-based organization aimed at eradicating all forms of state violence. We work directly with families and the community organizations that are doing the rapid response work, and really that are creating alternatives to calling the police, and even alternatives to depending on the medical industrial complex. When we call for help, what ends up happening is more harm, right? More trauma. And so Justice Teams Network was created in a sense to respond and interrupt this violence.
Stephen Taylor was murdered April the 18th, 2020 in San Leandro.
The conversation about healing justice started a few years ago, really because we were looking at our families, right? And so the other organization that I work with, the Anti-Police Terror Project, works very closely with families that have lost their loved ones to state violence.
This year, the families are taking October 22nd back because it is about the families. Who agree with that? But let's all work and let the families take a lead now.
We started asking them to engage more in the work. A big piece of that is also telling your story again and again and again, right? So there's lots of organizations that talk about being family-led. We've been striving to actually evolve to that place. We're not there yet. But simultaneously, I also started looking at my team and myself. And I started to notice it taking a toll on me. I started to notice it taking a toll on my team.
I see healing justice as a strategy to bring back organizers, uplift families that are in deep grief. The Healers Network is an open call to anybody who considers themselves sort of healer, a practitioner who has a healing modality of their own. Traditional healers, elders, medicine people. These are the folks that traditionally heal our communities, our BIPOC communities. And so these are the folks that we are centering in our Healing Justice initiative. At the Healers Network is a way that communities have access to healing modalities that maybe they can't even find in the clinic.
So it's really critical for us to look to Indigenous practices, both people Indigenous to this land and our Black leadership, as well as like Indigenous African practices. But culturally relevant to whatever group we're dealing with. A lot of that is about being a listener, holding space, providing culturally competent services.
What I'm more known for is doing my essential oil blends, and I call them resistant blends. I'm also a fire keeper. Carrying fire is not just turning it on, but also holding it so people can come and talk. And my medicine is also pláticas, so what you call like talking, but like a counselor.
What also became really clear to me was that there's not enough healers. And also people were asking them to give their services for free. So the way that you stop that is to build infrastructure and to raise money and to make it a programmatic through line. And so we've launched this network.
And what I loved is that at any action, it's like, oh, this is happening. Can you come support? We need that support. And so it's kind of each one teach one. So we teach each other, we hold each other, we care for each other. Although we're very different individuals, it's really that common denominator, right, for us, that we believe that in abolition, we believe that there should be no jails. We believe that our communities deserve healing. And that in itself is everything you really need.
Part of having like a network for me is just, I don't never necessarily need you to be there all the time. I just need to know that you exist and you're there. Because there was a time where I felt like I was the only one. And everybody would look at me like I was crazy. And you talk about this healing stuff and you don't really know. And everybody goes, yeah, that's not going to help. How's that going to tumble down a system of oppression? And then you meet people that are like, yeah, we can heal our way out of this. You're like, dude, I'm not the only one. Oh my God, this is so great.
The goal is to train, right? Have a train the trainer model, where we train healers and they train healers. And then they have a network amongst themselves to be able to think, vision, talk about, tweak the work, and that we increase the amount of healers and thus the amount of healing that's available to our movement.
Healers will be connected. They will be discussing. They will be in political education with myself and other organizers, learning about abolition, learning about why it's important for healers to be at the forefront of movements. It's called the Healing Justice Train the Trainer, a curriculum manual for facilitators. Many of you have done trainings with me where we did the Healing Justice Toolkit, and this was a collaboration between Justice Teams Network and Dignity and Power Now in 2018. And so this is really our updated training for you all, as I've been working for the last year in creating a healing justice curriculum. It's a manual. This manual intends to support healing justice practitioners, healthcare practitioners, organizers, politicized healers, committed to incorporating healing justice principles, practices, and actions into all their movement work. The manual takes you step by step to facilitate your own healing justice training.
People don't realize the healing process. They think that healing is just, a lot of times, just forgiving and going on. So it's helping them heal altogether, not just the particular, like somebody being killed or somebody going to prison or something like that. I think it's just about your whole life.
So often healing is taken out of the political context. It's easy to see trauma as disempowering and violence as disempowering, but it's harder for folks to see healing as empowering. And I think that so far what I've seen the guide do is really draw that connection in a way that I think is very healing for the movement and very healthy for the movement.
What the curriculum does is that it gives you concrete examples of how to bring in healing justice practices into your work. And I don't say healers in the sense of like an expert. We mean healers, anybody who has good listening ears, a big heart, an empathetic heart. And then we have a little bundle at the top because I have flowers, but each one of you brought different kinds of plants. And I always think, it doesn't matter what plant you're working with. All the plants have spiritual and medicinal properties, and there are allies. So if they show that important aspect of our healing justice curriculum is medicine making. So I will spend time medicine making with folks. So we'll provide them with the materials needed to make the medicine that they feel they can use at a rapid response site, or they can use with the families they work with.
Feel I've learned a lot from the Healers Network and from the training I did with Guadalupe. This last one, we made medicine bundles and flower bundles, and a lot of that was the idea that capitalism and colonialism alienates you from the natural world.
So there's lots to explore and figure out. We don't have all the answers. We have a model for sure. We have tenets and principles. But ultimately, I see it almost like a first responder model, right? So that healers are responding to incidents of intercommunal violence, interpersonal violence. That we are that part of our development in terms of leadership of our families is incorporating healing justice. This is how you take care of yourselves. This is how you take care of each other. For us as BIPOC people, and particularly as Black people, the only way that happens, the only way street violence stops, the only way state violence stops is if we interrupt our trauma.
My personal vision is that we have healers networks in every single city in California, and that they're connected and that they're talking. I just truly believe that these types of frameworks are going to heal our movements from inside out.